Look at your screen right now. Maybe you have 10 tabs open. Your phone is nearby. There are unread messages, an email waiting for a response. And somewhere in the middle of all that, there's one task that actually matters, but you're not doing it. You're switching email message spreadsheet, back to work, then another notification. And you tell yourself, I'm handling everything, but you're not. You're teaching your brain to never stay anywhere long enough to do its best work. And here's the uncomfortable part. The more successful you become, the more dangerous this can get because suddenly everyone wants your attention. Clients, employees, notifications, meetings, opportunities, problems. And if you don't learn how to control your attention, other people will control it for you. So today we're going to uncover what constant task switching is really doing to your productivity, why being busy can feel so rewarding, and how to build a workday where your attention works for you instead of being pulled in every direction. The productivity illusion. There's a strange performance happening in modern work. Someone answers emails while listening to a meeting. They reply to messages while building a presentation. They check analytics while brainstorming. And everyone thinks, wow, they're incredibly productive. But productivity isn't measured by how many things you touch. It's measured by what actually moves forward. Imagine two people. Person A spends 8 hours jumping between 20 different tasks. Person B spends 3 focused hours solving one important problem. At the end of the day, Person A feels exhausted. Person B has something finished. That's the difference between activity and progress. And once you understand that difference, you'll start seeing the problem everywhere. Your brain has to pay for every switch. Imagine you're solving a difficult problem. You're deep into it, you finally see a pattern. Then your phone buzzes, you glance at it. Just for 5 seconds, nothing important. You return to the problem, but now you have to reconstruct your train of thought. Where was I? What was I thinking? What was the next step? That tiny interruption may seem insignificant, but repeat it throughout the day, and your brain spends a surprising amount of energy simply re-entering the work. Researchers often discuss this phenomenon through the concept of attention residue. The idea that when you switch away from a task, some of your mental attention can remain attached to it, and that creates a dangerous cycle. Start, interrupt, restart, interrupt again. You aren't just losing minutes, you're repeatedly losing momentum. And momentum is where difficult work becomes easier. The most expensive thing on your calendar. Here's something most people never put on their calendar. Mental transitions. You schedule a meeting at 10, deep work at 11, a sales call at 12, creative work at 1, another meeting at 2. Everything looks organized, but your brain doesn't experience your calendar as neat little boxes. It experiences transitions. Financial analysis requires concentration. A sales call requires social awareness. Creative writing requires imagination. Leadership requires judgment. Every time you jump between these modes, your brain has to adjust. And if you do this all day, you may finish your schedule without ever reaching your highest level of thinking. That's why traditional time management isn't always enough. You don't just need to manage time, you need to manage cognitive load. The high performer's secret. High performers aren't necessarily people who can do everything at once. Often, they're better at something much simpler. They know what deserves their attention right now. That's a different skill. They don't ask, what can I squeeze into this hour? They ask, what kind of thinking does this hour require? That's the shift. Instead of organizing your day only around tasks, organize it around mental modes. For example, focus mode writing, analysis, strategy, problem solving. Then, people mode calls meetings, feedback communication. Then, execution mode, admin email, follow-ups, routine tasks. You're still doing multiple things during the day, but you're not forcing your brain to change direction every 5 minutes. The 60-second clean slate. Now let's make this practical before moving from one important task to another. Take 1 minute, not 10, not 20, just 60 seconds. Write down, what was I doing? What did I finish? What's the next action? Then stop, take a breath, stand up if possible, move away from the screen for a moment, and return. This tiny ritual creates a psychological boundary between tasks. You're telling your brain, that chapter is closed. Now we're starting this one. It sounds almost too simple, but simplicity is exactly why it works as a habit. The goal isn't to create another complicated productivity system. The goal is to remove friction. Stop using willpower as your productivity system. Here's another mistake. People know their phone distracts them, so they keep it next to them and try not to look at it. That's like keeping junk food on your desk and trying not to eat it. You're creating an unnecessary battle. Instead, change the environment. Phone away. Unnecessary notifications off, irrelevant tabs closed. One project visible, one clear objective. Make distraction inconvenient and focus convenient. Your environment should make the right behavior easier because discipline becomes much easier when your surroundings aren't constantly fighting against it. Your best hours are not for admin. Here's a question worth asking. When is your brain at its best? Morning, afternoon, late at night, whenever your peak period happens. Don't automatically give it to email. Don't give it to notifications. Don't give it to meetings simply because someone else scheduled them. Protect it. Use your highest energy period for your highest value work, because not every hour is equally valuable. 1 hour of clear thinking can be worth more than 3 hours of scattered effort. That's why productivity isn't simply hours times effort. It's also about attention times importance. The one question rule. Tomorrow morning before opening your inbox, ask yourself, if I could complete only one meaningful thing today, what would it be? Not 10 things. 1. Then protect time for it, because your to-do list will always grow. There will always be another email, another notification, another request, another small task. But the important work? It usually doesn't scream for attention. It quietly waits, and that's why it gets postponed. The loudest task isn't always the most valuable one. Build your focus architecture. Here's the complete system. Rule 1. Identify the task that creates the greatest meaningful progress. Rule 2. Cluster group similar tasks together. Don't bounce between completely different mental modes unnecessarily. Rule 3. Create uninterrupted periods for high-value thinking. Rule 4. Reset. Use the 60-second clean slate ritual between major transitions. Rule 5. Review. At the end of the day, ask, where did my attention leak? Not, was I busy? Because being busy tells you almost nothing. Attention leakage tells you everything. Final, the attention advantage. The world is becoming louder. More information, more technology, more notifications, more AI, more opportunities, more people competing for your attention. And that means attention is becoming one of the most valuable resources you have. Not because attention makes you successful by itself, but because whatever repeatedly receives your attention eventually shapes your results. Give your attention to distractions, and distractions grow. Give it to meaningless tasks, and busyness grows. Give it to learning, and your knowledge grows. Give it to valuable problems, and your skills grow. Give it to building something meaningful, and eventually, your life can change. So don't leave your attention on autopilot. Don't let every notification decide what you think about next, and don't confuse movement with progress. Because the people who achieve extraordinary things aren't always the people doing the most. Sometimes, they're simply the people who can sit down, close the noise, choose what matters, and stay there. One task, one direction, one focused mind. That's not just productivity, that's power. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos.